WCW's Nitro forever changed the way wrestling television was done, turning what was once primarily used as a promotional tool to advertise for house shows and pay-per-views, into major weekly standalone events that will sell out any arena in the world, with its creation kickstarting the biggest boom period the business has ever seen, as we're looking at the 10 most watched Nitro shows in its history. In what would be the final WCW victory on Monday nights, the replay of the Goldberg vs. Page Havoc pay-per-view match saw WCW peaking at record levels on the back of the highest-rated quarter in cable TV history with a 7.2 rating and over 7.8 million viewers, beating Raw by a record 3.9 rating points. The rest of the head-to-head period saw the follow-up of the Hall vs. Nash and Hogan vs. Warrior pay-per-view matches, with Warrior coming out in the third hour to take out NWO Hollywood, bumping the show to a 4.6 rating, along with an NWO vs. Wolfpack tag match in the same quarter, closing the show with a Bret Hart vs. Page US title main event going 11 minutes, with WCW drawing one of its highest opposed ratings in history with a 5.1. The Wolfpack were on a private jet on the way to the Reunion Arena in Dallas to open the first hour on January 25, 1999, kicking Curt Hennig out of the group in the airport before driving to the building, closing the first hour drawing over 6 million viewers with a Scott Hall vs. Bigelow ladder match ending with a Goldberg double spear to a huge reaction. With Raw coming off the Rumble pay-per-view a day earlier, WCW had a loaded show with every major name in hyped matches or show-long angles, as along with the Hall-Bigelow match WCW had Bret Hart vs. Booker, Ric Flair putting Eric Bischoff in the merchandise stand, and Goldberg vs. Scott Norton jumping over 900,000 viewers to a peak 5.5 rating. After one of the most competitive Mondays in history, with both shows trading viewership victories in every quarter, WCW headlined with a big Wolfpack vs. Horsemen 6-man tag match jumping over 700,000 viewers to a 5.3 rating, closing out the biggest month in Monday Night Wars history in January '99 with another 5 overall rating. A week after the reformation of the NWO at the Georgia Dome, WCW had a massive boost of interest for the follow-up with Thunder during the week, jumping to its highest rating in 5 months, and the first hour tonight drawing its highest rating in history with a 5.9 rating and over 6.8 million viewers, peaking with a massive 6.4 rating for the footage of the hyped Flair-Bischoff meeting at the WCW headquarters in Flair's second week in charge of the company. 4 minutes from 9 p.m. the Wolfpack's limousine arrived to the building to open the first opposed quarter, with the Hells Angels as the backup group, coming out for a promo to hype several matches for tonight, drawing a 5 rating, with WCW peaking during the head-to-head hours with a 5.5 rating and over 6.1 million viewers for a Scott Steiner vs. Dallas Page US title match going 10 minutes. WCW loaded up the final hour with 3 high-profile matches in addition to short Goldberg interview clips talking about the events of the past 2 weeks, having Scott Hall vs. Bigelow, Ric Flair vs. Curt Hennig, and the main event with a spot in the NWO on the line with Nash vs. Giant and Paul White's final match in the company, with WCW continuing the strong momentum from the last week, drawing another near-record opposed 5 rating. With Warrior's return last week adding to the already peaking Goldberg and both NWO groups, along with coming off the most mainstream exposure in company history over the last month, August 24, 1998 saw WCW drawing the biggest rating in Monday Night Wars history, even going against one of the most loaded Raw shows of all time 6 days from SummerSlam. WCW set up the main event throughout the first hour, with Nash and Goldberg agreeing to team up against Hogan and Giant, with the hour overall drawing a record 5.5 rating. Warrior came out near the top of the hour for his follow-up promo after the return segment, bumping WCW over 700,000 viewers to a 5.4 rating in a quarter, which also included a Lex Luger vs. Bryan Adams match. The entrances for the Big Tag Match main event took place at 10:40 p.m. with the match gaining big to a near-record 6.5 rating and over 7 million viewers, before jumping further, crossing over 11 p.m. into the overrun to peak at a record audience of over 8.2 million viewers for the show-closing brawl, with Nitro ending the broadcast with a record 5.2 overall rating. 7 days after the 83-week winning streak was ended by Raw, WCW for the first time since mid-96 was coming to Monday on the losing side with a loaded show planned for the response to gain back the lead, having both Goldberg and Hogan challenging Raven and Savage for the US and World titles on the night. After catching fire in the last few months, Goldberg was placed for the biggest drawing test of his career to date in the crossover segment just as Raw went on the air, with the match cementing Goldberg as a future megastar, drawing the biggest opening quarter in history with a 5.7 rating to beat Raw by a 2 rating points margin, with the gap between the shows growing even further 2 hours later with Savage vs. Hogan obliterating Raw by nearly 3 rating points in the final quarter. The Savage-Hogan title match coming a day after the official split of the NWO, with Hogan and Nash turning on each other, went 16 minutes in the main event, jumping huge with over 2.3 million viewers to an all-time record 6.5 rating and over 7.3 million viewers, leading to WCW not only taking back the lead by beating Raw again, but drawing the biggest rating in the history of the Monday competition with a 5.1. In one of the most hyped weeks of television in industry history, WCW in front of a record crowd at the Georgia Dome built the show on the Goldberg vs. Nash Starrcade '98 rematch, along with Hulk Hogan's farewell appearance and Ric Flair's first night as the new president, targeting the night to set new milestones in the building and on television, which happened in both cases. WCW started with an all-time record viewership for the first hour, drawing a 6.7 million viewers, showing the increased interest on the night for both companies, with more viewers than ever tuning in on both channels, opening with Ric Flair's first segment since taking control in a confrontation with Eric Bischoff, putting him as a commentator for the night. After starting the show long angle at 9 p.m. with Goldberg taken out by police just as Hogan arrived to the stadium, WCW's biggest quarter came at 9:45 p.m. for the two segments setting up the new main event of Nash vs. Hogan, first with Nash making the challenge with Flair officially booking the match, and then Hogan making his TV return after almost 2 months out to accept it, bumping the show over 800,000 viewers to a 5.1 rating. The Hogan vs. Nash match, which included the reunion of the Outsiders with Scott Hall coming out in a Wolfpack shirt along with the finger poke swerve, and post-match Goldberg vs. NWO brawl, saw WCW having one of the biggest viewership spikes of all time, jumping over 2.6 million viewers in total to a 6.5 rating and over 7.6 million viewers, with WCW overall setting a record opposed audience with the biggest viewership during a head-to-head week in show history. In the second consecutive unopposed week after breaking all viewership records last Monday, WCW had another chance to draw a near-record audience with the head-to-head battle resuming next week. WCW opened fast with Hogan running backstage after Warrior attacked members of NWO Hollywood, going to the ring to call him out to lead to the show closing angle, with Hogan returning to the ring almost 3 hours later with Giant as protection, ending up with Warrior appearing out of nowhere to lay them out for the finish. Nitro peaked in the final half hour between the 6 to 6.2 rating range and over 7 million viewers, first with a Curt Hennig vs. Dean Malenko cage match ending with Arn Anderson running in for the save, to a big reaction to build to Flair's TV return next Monday, along with a Wolfpack vs. Piper and Page tag match in the Hogan-Warrior confrontation. With the company peaking in every department to start 1998, all records were expected to be shattered when a spring break special hyped for weeks was set to go unopposed on March 16, with Raw airing a day later on Tuesday. The full NWO opened the show while in the background talks were going on legit issues in the group, with Hall and Nash confronting Bischoff a few days earlier, setting up the main event of Hogan and Savage teaming up against Sting and Luger a day after headlining the uncensored pay-per-view against each other, with viewership growing steadily throughout the show, jumping over 600,000 viewers to a 5.7 rating at the top of the hour for Randy Savage's arrival for a confrontation with Bischoff regarding the tag match and him taking over the NWO from Hogan. The third hour saw WCW entering record territory never reached before in cable TV history, with the entire hour averaging a 6.3 rating, peaking in a loaded final quarter featuring Hall and Nash coming out in spring break mood to call out Giant, ending with them thrown in the pool in a comedic segment, and the main event tag match with Sting making a spectacular entrance from an helicopter and Hogan and Savage turning on each other throughout, jumping to a 6.6 rating and over 7.3 million viewers. With the wrestling audience increasing to levels never seen before to start 1999, WCW going unopposed on February 8 was expected to approach record numbers, with a chance to get regular Raw viewers to sample the product for the first time in months. WCW jumped over 1 million viewers at 9 p.m. with a Ric Flair-Bret Hart segment to set up a Bret vs. Piper US title match for later tonight, jumping to a 6.2 rating and over 7 million viewers in the crossover segment when Raw usually goes on the air, with Flair also involved in a show-long angle of him putting Eric Bischoff in charge of cleaning the facility in the building. Other major segments during the second hour saw Bigelow call out Goldberg to hype their Super Brawl pay-per-view match, with the quarter picking up over 600,000 viewers to a 6.1 rating, along with a Paige Scott tying their parking lot brawl that turned into a major heat angle in the build for the pay-per-view match, with Scott throwing Kimberly off the car. WCW's main event saw Hall and Nash against Flair and Mongo going 11 minutes, peaking in the overrun with a 6.5 rating and over 7.3 million viewers to end with Hogan and Goldberg out for the show-closing brawl. After drawing the biggest rating in Monday Night War's history last week while going head-to-head with Raw, all indications pointed to WCW going unopposed a week later to smash all previous records and reach the biggest television audience for a wrestling broadcast since the WWF's NBC specials almost a decade earlier. Nitro started with a Hogan promo in a segment with Warrior and a continuation of the build-up to the Hogan-Warrior pre-match, with Warrior continuing to be featured throughout the show chasing after the NWO, along with two other promo segments in the first hour, first with the Wolfpack and then with Arn Anderson teasing a return to the ring to reform the Horsemen in the build to Flair's return. WCW picked up huge in the second hour to a 6.6 overall rating, the highest rated hour in cable TV history, peaking with a Roddy Piper Dallas Page promo drawing a 6.8 rating and over 7.6 million viewers, with WCW loading up the final half hour with Goldberg vs. Green and a main event tag of Hogan and Bret against Sting and Luger going 11 minutes, as Nitro broke every overall viewership record in history with the first ever show to enter the 6 rating range.